Hello, good evening and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Tonight on the program, we are focusing on the tension around the withdrawal of police escorts for VIPs, very important personalities, people in government, people out of government, but high-ranking members of the society. The move followed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's directive, with the Inspector General of Police recently pulling back over 11,000 police officers from their various positions. The decision sparked a pushback at the National Assembly, especially the Nigerian Senate this week, with Senator Abdullahi of Bauchi Central accusing the police of uneven implementation of the presidential directive.
It should be done across the board. Let's see what happens from the office of the president to the vice president to the Senate president to the Speaker of the House to the ministers. Mr. President, I'm coming after they have withdrawn my only orderly. I saw 2 convoys of ministers and they were carrying lots of security personnel. I have also seen business concern, Chinese and other business concern. Yesterday, with the compliments of orderlies. Mr. President, I have also seen daughters and sons of political office holders having orderlies and having security covers. Mr. President, I have seen singers having orderlies and complimentary of protection. I cannot ever imagine that a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who has been here for a very long time, only one orderly.
The directive of Mr. President being flouted, where you have the class of persons that he just said, singers, businessmen, and what have you, having policemen. The chairman of the Police Affairs Committee should take up this matter, conduct a proper investigation, and let us know why is the directive of Mr. President being flouted.
Right, on the program, analysts say the police already lack manpower, raising fresh questions about how to fix Nigeria's policing gaps, especially against the backdrop of our national challenge with insecurity. We'll get into the conversation in just a moment with our panelists for tonight's conversation. But first, let's bring you up to speed with the latest political developments in the country.
A high court in Abuja has ordered the remand of former Labour Minister Chris Ngige in Kuje prison pending his bail ruling. The EFCC arraigned him on Friday over a late 2.2 billion naira fraud. Ngige, a former Anambra governor and minister under Muhammadu Buhari, faces 8 counts of fraud and receiving bribes tied to his name as Labour minister. The Supreme Court has set aside President Bola Tinubu's pardon for Abuja housewife Mariam Sanda and upheld the death sentence earlier handed to her for killing her husband, Biliaminu Bello. Justice More Adumin said the prosecution proved its case beyond reasonable doubt and ruled that the Court of Appeal acted properly in affirming the lower court's judgment. He said the executive acted wrongly by granting a pardon while her appeal was still pending. The court dismissed her appeal for lacking merit. The PDP in Borno State has withdrawn from the December 13 local government elections, citing distrust of the state electoral body and the high cost of nomination forms. Publicity Secretary Amos Aziba said the decision followed a state executive committee meeting in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. A communique listed concerns about Bosaik and the ruling APC. Power Minister Bayo Adelabu has accused Primate Elijah Ayodele of blackmail and attempting to extort 150 million naira from him for spiritual support ahead of the 2027 Oyo governorship race. A petition by his media aide Bolaji Tunji to the DSS alleged the cleric made false prophecies after Adelabu rejected the demands. Ayodele denied seeking money, saying he only asked an associate to check the price of a trumpet.
All right, some of the day's leading political developments there in our political wrap-up. Let's get back to the conversation of the evening, one that concerns national security and the presidential directive to withdraw police personnel from very important personalities, people in government, people in the private sector, as well as all the other groups of people who usually require police escorts or services as part of efforts to bolster the ranks of Nigerian police, where those gaps have become rather obvious, as Mr. President earlier in the week doubled down on this particular directive, telling his ministers to seek for permission from the Nigeria Civil Defense Corps for their own personal securities, which will be made available to them upon request. But of course, concerns continue to mount over the uneven implementation, as we echoed there by Senator Abdul Ningi, which the Nigerian Senate is set to investigate. Let's bring in our guest. He's Dr. Stephen Okwori, a security consultant and expert who will help us navigate the issues as well as give us an understanding of what this initiative stands to achieve at the end of the day. Dr. Stephen, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much for stopping by this evening.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Right. At the beginning of the conversation, when that directive was made public, a lot of people thought very proactive step to bridge the gap, because we understand that there is a manpower shortage,
Absolutely,
so to speak. Yeah. A couple of weeks down the line, what do you make of what has happened so far as implementation is concerned? Because the week after, we understand, according to the Inspector General of Police, over 11,200 plus have been pulled back. I suppose now that number would have gone up, but we haven't got an official number from the police yet. What do you make of what has happened over the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, first of all, let us agree that we don't have adequate manpower. Nigeria, with a population of almost 230 million or more, we have less 400,000 police officers, right, that are providing security for Nigeria and for the citizens of the country. And when the president gave that directive, I saw it as a welcome development, because at some point I saw where we are abusing the use of police to provide security services for some categories of Nigerians and some foreigners within our land. You go to some embassies, some government institutions, agencies and all that, banks, malls, churches, mosques and all that. You see a whole lot of police. And here we are talking about inadequate manpower. So for me, it's a welcome development. And when the president issued that directive, the IGP, yes, after some couple of days, he came and gave briefs that they have recalled about 11,566 or so. And even after that briefs by the IGP, I still saw police providing security for some Nigerians. So I started wondering, is that this set or class of Nigerians are untouchable, or they are above the law or the directive issued by Mr. President? You see, one thing is for Mr. President to issue an order. Another thing is to see that that order is met or implemented. When I saw that the president was giving an order again, an order that he had given before, I started wondering, was it that the IGP didn't comply with the first order that was issued by Mr. President? Well, in this country, even the late former President Muhammadu Buhari, when insecurity issues were ravaging Benue, he gave the IGP then, Idris, order to relocate to Benue. The IGP did not go to Benue, and nothing happened, right? So, Mr. President is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Once he gives an order, we expect the order to be implemented.
Is it your understanding that this order is not being implemented to the fullest?
It's not. It's not implemented. Yeah. Look at Senator Abdul Ningi. He said the only one oddly attached to him has been withdrawn. And Mr. President gave this order. He said they should liaise with the Civil Defense Corps, right? He didn't say, okay, these VIPs don't deserve police protection. But with what we are seeing on ground, we don't have the adequate manpower to see how to take care of our insecurity issues. Don't forget that when we are talking about internal crime, it's the police mandate, it's the police responsibility. And the police tell us that they are the lead agency when it has to do with addressing internal security challenges. In the event where we don't have the adequate manpower, how do you now lead? How well do you now lead? Right, so the civil defense are there. Don't forget that they also have their own mandate, protection of critical government infrastructure, right, assets, you know. So in the event where you are pulling them out to go and provide VIP protection to our VIPs, who now protects our critical assets, right? So I think it's something that the government really needs to sit down and think and look out for a way around it, right? So that we shouldn't be addressing one particular issue and the other one we're letting it out for criminals to see how to begin to carry out criminal activities. You know, we have critical assets that are out there that needs security protection as well.
Right, and there are some who criticize the decision as a half measure, that one that would probably elicit public support. However, it's a half measure. Do you think, I mean, the Inspector General of Police was very categorical. He said nowhere near 120,000 plus personnel are providing security services to private individuals or very important personalities in society. He didn't give us an exact number, but he said the number that has been going around is wrong.
Yeah.
So we don't have an exact figure about how many people are how many police officers are providing personal security. But do you think that pulling them out is enough to make a difference? Absolutely.
We're talking about a shortfall here. And don't forget that Mr. President, because as a result of the shortfall, Mr. President has approved recruitment or enlistment of about 50,000 recruits to come into the workforce. The IGP made mention of 11,000 plus. Just imagine if these 11,000 are deployed or posted to areas where we are experiencing some issues, some challenges. You know, so it doesn't take away the fact that it will not add up to the workforce that is already existing or that is already on ground, right? This VIP protection that they are providing for our VIPs, what is it that they are doing? Carrying handbags of VIP, the ones that are female, the ones that are male, holding their bags and moving around with them. I saw a businessman from the East. In his convoy, I counted 14 police officers attached to just one particular person. You see, and then we have a whole lot of the Nigerians that are out there. I drove to your studio here, I myself alone. And we also need VIP protection. We need protection. We're all VIPs in our own right, because the Constitution guarantees us that security is a primary responsibility of government, security and welfare. So government needs to provide security for me, needs to provide for you, and the all other Nigerians that are out there. So if you are privileged to occupy an office, or you are privileged to be wealthy as an individual, and you have the resources to ask for police protection, don't forget that it's not free. The truth is, it's not free. The truth is that the VIPs that are individuals, they don't occupy any public office. They pay for it. And even the ones that even occupy public offices.
Which we understand is also some sort of a form of revenue generation for the police itself.
Yes, the police will debunk that, because receipts are not issued. They will tell you that they're just providing services of the police, that no money is not, doesn't exchange hands in that regard, but that's not the truth.
What about the armament gaps? I mean, we clearly have a huge funding gap in the Nigerian police today. It's one thing to call them back into public service. It's another thing to actually be able to arm them, to equip them with what they need for actual policing. Some would say this directive is putting the cart before the horse, because we've heard a governor of Katsina State talk about how an entire local government has less than 10 serviceable operational firearms, which doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, the ratio of police officers to citizens is already bad enough, but you have to talk about serviceable weapons, operational weapons, and all of these things. Do you think, as far as the argument about this being a half measure is concerned, that this could end up being counterproductive, where they are there, but they are redundant because they don't have the tools to get the job done?
It's sad that we are talking about the police and we're listing out their challenges. This year, 2025, the Nigerian police is 95 years old. Nigerian police was established in 1930 or so. And it's unfortunate that we are talking about equipment that are not enough, a lot, logistics, training and all that. We are still talking about that in this current time and age. Year in, year out, budgets come in and they go. After 3 or 4 years, new IGPs come and they go. Even after their tenure, they are appointed as Police Service Commission chairman and all that. You are bringing a former IGP that did not perform as an IGP, you are bringing him on board, Police Service Commission as chairman. What do you expect him to come and do differently? So a lot is wrong. And you see, these issues are not new. These challenges are not new when it has to do with the police. So what are they doing? They come in and go out as IGPs. They have budgets that they come to the National Assembly to defend. The Senate has police committee on police affairs committee. The reps has police affairs committee. And what is expected of this committee is to carry out oversight functions, to see the...
But do you think the police is well funded? Enough to be able to say that the police is fit for purpose in this country?
I've attended different functions that have to do with the police. They always complain about inadequate funds, inadequate funds. And for me, addressing insecurity issues in the world is not cheap. And Nigeria, I want to believe we have the resources to do that. So are we judiciously using the resources for the purpose of addressing these issues or challenges that we're talking about? Are these monies given? That's why I mentioned the National Assembly. The essence of oversight function, effective oversight function, is to expose corruption, right? And to look at the inefficiencies within the institution. We haven't heard anywhere where the National Assembly came out to say, as a committee on police affairs, this is what we discovered. But I want to commend the Senate. I saw that the last 2 weeks or so, they dissolved 2 committees that have to do with security, national security and intelligence. The chairman and members, they dissolved them for non-performance also, and that of the Air Force. So let us see that, even within the institution, the National Assembly, if they are failing, let us see that actions like that are taken. Right. We have a Minister of Police Affairs. What is new that he has brought on board as, to see how to change the narrative within the institution. Right. So do we have people in offices that are not performing their job? They're just there looking out for what is good for them and all that, So a lot needs to be done. Are we even prepared to do it? I'm tired of these excuses that we give as an institution.
You think there's enough already on ground to be able to make a difference, even if the police doesn't have all the necessary resources, funding it needs to operate optimally? You think there's enough within the system that could have made a difference in the lives of Nigerians?
In terms of resources?
Yeah.
Why not? We have a lot of resources. Look at the monies that politicians play around with. And you think the resources, are monies that they earned, they did not earn it. It's public taxpayers' money. So when you see politicians doing what they are doing with Nigerian people's money, and you're asking if we have resources, we have the resources. We have the resources. Right. Let us see that when somebody takes away the resources that is meant for such purpose, are they punished? How many of them are taken to court? How many of them are being tried by the EFCC and all that? And the EFCC is there. They have a lot to do. If the National Assembly exposes corruption within the institution, and okay, now issue directive to the EFCC, right? Do they have immunity? They don't have immunity. If you are in service and you are found wanting, and it's clearly seen that you are culpable in one way or the other, should they arrest you? When you disgrace people out of office, the people that are coming to take over will change. Crime and punishment must go in line, right? We commit this crime, commit these acts of corruption and all that, and there's no punishment, right? So a lot needs to happen. And when it doesn't happen, Nigerians were very one set of people that you feel that it is government, you can do and undo, there's no punishment and all that. So what now serves as deterrent, for people that come to occupy same office after you are gone. Right. So there's a lot that we need to do as a government. The government shouldn't just fold their hands and we'll see that things are not adding up or things are not going the way is expected.
Right. Linking the concerns raised by Senator Abdullahi before then, we've had Senator Adewale, we've had Senator Magatakarda Wamako and the likes complain about how they could be the next target if their police security is pulled away from them.
Yeah.
And knowing what we know about Nigerian politics, we're going into the election season next year. Do you see this backfiring, especially with attacks on some of these high-profile personalities as the campaigns kick off?
Absolutely. The criminals are out there. They're also watching and reading news. So they know that the VIPs that we have, especially our political actors, they no longer have police protection. So they feel that it could be an easy access to get to them, right? For that, I think that there are some persons that constitutionally should be attached to, police protection. The Constitution provides that for them, right, based on the office that they occupy, right? So, and I think that's why the Mr. President had to also go ahead to give that directive that Civil Defense Corps should take over the duties of VIP protection on these political actors that we have. Civil defense, they are also armed, right? So they should see how to get permission or permits from the Civil Defense Corps so that they can also ask for the security protection. But in doing that, we have about 109 senators, 360 members of the National Assembly, House of Reps, and the other ones that we have out there. So in the event where you take from the number that is already existing from the Civil Defense Corps, their mandate, who now takes care of that? We need to ask the question, what's the government doing? So there's need for us to begin to look or think outside the box, right? In thinking outside the box, there's already a local security structure that Mr. President has given approval, the forest guards, right? And then under the National National Security Advisors Coordination and Supervision. You can look at that. They're also undergoing a series of trainings in Oshobo, the Special Forces training and all that, intelligence gathering training and all that. They also, Mr. President 2 days ago gave an order or approval that they should be armed as well, because he knows that in addressing these insecurity issues, we must go local. And don't forget that some of these critical government infrastructure assets are also found in some ungoverned spaces, right? So in trying to see how to close the gap, as they are providing security for our forests and local community, these critical assets like pipelines and all that, power line stations and all that, they are also situated in some of these communities where there's no security presence. So they can tinker around it and see that they also look at that and say, okay, in the event where we are trying to take some from the civil defense, let us see how to bring the forest guards on board. And,
yeah. And in drawing parallels with some countries, and I believe you've studied other countries and their deployment of security resources, is there anything unusual about Nigeria when it comes to providing personal security for government officials? You have state lawmakers, local council chairmen, almost anybody in government today can have an official security detail attached to him. Is this something peculiar to Nigeria from your understanding?
You see, Nigeria, unfortunately, we have found ourselves in a very hostile society or environment. There are countries that are experiencing peace. There are countries that are experiencing peace, right? In such country, what do you expect? You won't see policemen going after or providing security for public office holders. Iceland is one of the most peaceful countries in the world. Ireland and Austria and other countries, So Nigeria as a country, we that are the ordinary citizens, we move from one point to another point with fear, a lot of fear, anxiety and all that. So you don't expect the politicians, they are first of all human beings before they became politicians, and they are thinking of what they have amassed for themselves and family. So if you take them, I know that they won't be out there to enjoy what they have taken, for themselves. So whatever we're experiencing here in the country, for me, I think we have gone way above board. I don't think it's a global practice, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You heard the complaints about selective implementation,
yes,
which has been re-echoed outside of the chambers of the National Assembly. Professor Wole Soyinka also had quite a lot to say about the president's son.
Yeah.
And it got a lot of people talking in the public space about how much security is acceptable for the first family to have.
Exactly.
Because we also understand that there are certain people, because of their profile, security around them needs to be tight because they are sort of like a target,
yeah,
for one reason or the other. What do you think about those concerns that have been raised, especially around selective implementation and whether there is a need to even out the implementation itself? I mean, there are some celebrities who have been seen at events with security compliments and things like that. There are businessmen, expatriates, and people like that, just as Senator Abdullahi echoed in his submissions.
You see, if you go to South Africa operates a private guard security service, and contained in their law, as a private guard, you are entitled to bear arms, right? And most of the personnel in the private guard are either retired police officers or military and all that. They are recruited into the private guard security service. So rather than going to carry conventional security officers that are out there, that are saddled with the responsibility of protecting the territorial boundaries of our country, the citizens of the country and all that, you can go for such service. You pay for it. They come render.
But we do know that they cannot bear arms, which is a critical component of security service, isn't it?
There in South Africa, they bear arms, and it's about the law.
Is that something that you would recommend the National Assembly look into, especially small and light weapons?
Yes, it's doable. It's doable. Now, before now, nobody talked about forest guards to the extent or point of arming them, but we are now seeing the need for it, right? You know the value that these criminals attach to our forests. It is in this forest that they kidnap, keep hostages for as long as they want to keep them until negotiations are met, right? It's either you are lucky, you come out alive, or they kill you, right? It is in this forest that they plan, come out, strike, they return, regroup, and come out and continue to carry out these acts of criminality on our people. So there's a lot of attachment, value that they attach to this forest. And our law enforcement agents don't have, even if they go into the forest, right, it is difficult for them to be able to get to where these criminals are. Reasons because they are not familiar with the terrain, they are not familiar with the environment and all that. So when they come in there, they are strangers, total strangers to this community where these forests are. And that's why, Mr. President, I saw it in his manifesto, that when he becomes president, he's going to come on board forest guards, and they gave, which of course he gave approval. And from what I am seeing and from what I am reading, I have told people that care to know or to listen that if these forest guards don't bear arms, then the aim of establishing them will be defeated, will not be achieved, will not be achieved at all. Because these forest guards are going to, or will be first responders, right, when these criminals come to confront people in our local community. Don't forget that crime is local. Most of these crimes happen in our rural and semi-rural communities. These crimes happen there. When you go there, you won't see police. It is when After 2-3 hours, that the damage is done. That is when you begin to see police, soldiers running or rushing to that crime scene. Right. Some couple of months ago, that the Plateau State was attacked. What did the military say? They complained of lack of proximity. They didn't have access to these areas or communities where these things happen. But in the event where you recruit forest guards from their immediate community, they are well armed. And when these criminals come, they'll be able to confront them. Right. A lot is happening in our forest. And for me, there's this Nigerian, I've read 2-3 of his articles, Dr. John Meche. He has consistently said in his article, he's a global peace and intelligence analyst or so. He has consistently said in his article that the missing link why we are not getting the desired result is because we don't have forest guards on ground. And I want to agree with him. As an advocate of local policing, we must see that we begin to see how to address these issues of addressing insecurity from bottom to top. Not that usual top to bottom. When the crime happens, you begin to see they turn the place
reactionary responses.
Exactly.
Right.
I think at this point in time, we would have been able to know that this is the gap. Right. So in closing the gap, that's what we need.
And in the same breath, when the president announced the withdrawal of all police personnel attached to VIPs in the country, there was also the order given to recruit 94,000 new personnel into Nigeria's security services. 50,000 we believe is going to be in the Nigerian police. Yeah. And the Police Service Commission says the portal will go live this coming week for prospective candidates to apply. And we also understand there's some 14,000 or thereabout in the Nigerian Army, and all the other services will also get the green light to recruit. But 94,000, talk to me about whether this is a drop in the ocean as far as Nigeria is concerned. You're talking about 230 plus million people, right? Yeah. We saw the ratio there, 1 to 430 or thereabout. Far, below internationally recommended standards. Do you think this is something that could actually turn the tide in terms of spread?
No. It won't. Just the way you said, it's a drop in the ocean. Right. The UN recommended ratio, when it has to do with the police plus the number of citizens that they are supposed to provide security, is 350 to 400. And this 350 to 400 is in a society like Iceland, and the others, that they don't experience the security issues the way we are experiencing in Nigeria. If you can apply that here, you can apply it now. And in my last walk-ins that I did, I discovered that we have a police to over 1,000 citizens in this country. So we have gone far above the ratio recommended by the UN. So what that means is that we need to recruit more into the institution. 50,000. When you add 50,000 to about 380-something thousand that we have, that's about 420 or 30.
Is there also a concern there because the numbers seem to conflict or at least confuse many Nigerians in the public? In one breath you hear we have over 500,000, sometimes you hear it's 400,000. What is your own understanding of what the actual number is?
The actual number is about 382,000.
Active servicemen?
Yes. Even in the military, Army, Air Force, Navy put together. How many do we have? There are about 230,000. Yes, that's what we have. And don't forget that once you serve in the military and you get to the rank of a general, either in the Air Force, Navy, or Army, as you retire, you are entitled to minimum 2 soldiers or Air Force or Navy working with you as a retired general.
You're essentially saying we've been depleting the resources.
Exactly. So by the time you look at for the number of generals that we have that are retired, and look at the soldiers or Navy or Air Force that are working with them personally, so it means that the 230,000 that we're even talking about, there's also a shortfall in that. So there's a lot that we need to do. We need to sit down and look at the number that we have, right? And see reasons why we need to recruit more. There's nothing wrong with having about 1 million or more police officers in this country. Looking at our number.
Can we afford it?
What kind of question is that? Why can't we afford it? I've told you that we have the resources. We have the resources.
You think Nigeria can afford 1 million police
There
officers?
are countries in Africa that have well over close to 1 million or more. They have. The military, our capability and strength within the African continent. Nigeria is ranked number 3. Egypt and Nigeria ahead of us. They have officers that are almost that number that are serving. So what are we saying? We have the resources. Don't you see how much they share every month in this country? How much goes as security votes to states? Are we judiciously using these resources that go to states as security votes? Before now, local government used to collect less 50, 100 million naira. How much does local government now receive? 10, 15, 20, 50 billion, that's what they receive as allocation. The fact that the money doesn't go to them, we see it when there's this publication of resources that goes to local government. Just that the governors are strangling the local government, and you know what they are doing with that.
So you don't think money is the problem?
It is not. We have the resources. When we are serious, when there is the will to do it. Nigeria is not a broke nation.
Well, the numbers suggest a completely different outcome. But in talking about what comes next, there's also the conversation about state police.
Yeah.
The president echoed that same sentiment when he said the National Assembly needs to look at the legislation that is needed to fast-track this, to make it a reality as soon as possible. Yeah. How do you see this playing out? Especially because the president is leaning towards state policing, something that has been debated for years, but no real motion has happened so far.
Now, what's the idea about state police? It's about using them within our local communities, right? That's the whole idea. State police, let us get them recruited from our immediate local communities so that they will be very close to the people. That's the whole idea about state police. But should be under the supervision of the governors of states and all that. So if we are talking about taking security to the grassroots, where we have that constant interaction with our people, in the event where they see something and they see something, there will be response as quick as possible. We already have the forest guards. The president gave directive that the governors of states should liaise with the National Security Advisor in the recruitment process. That means they are going to come with their people from their very local communities to bring them on board to serve as forest guards. And he has given directive that they should be armed. So in the event where we are going this way, and we are already seeing the results, should we not begin to go the way of state police as well? When whatever state police officers are coming to do, the forest guards can as well do. So I think that, for now, the idea of state police should rest, we should keep it in view. Let us see what the forest guards, in synergy or in collaboration with our conventional security agencies, the military, the police, and all that. Let us see the result that we bring out. If we see that result, right, then I think we should just keep that in view. Because we are talking about addressing insecurity issues locally. And that's the whole idea about state police as well.
Right. And during his screening at the Nigerian Senate, the new Minister of Defense, who was the immediate past Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, had said a lot about logistics, about operational tactics, about what he's bringing to the table, some of his ideas about community policing, resource management and things like that. He said, listen, they would push for the withdrawal of soldiers at checkpoints, have police officers, have civil defense officers, or the other auxiliary services step in.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about some of the operational modalities that we currently have, especially with checkpoints, for instance, roadblocks on highways and things like that? I mean, they do sometimes provide some sort of public confidence for travelers and things like that. But is this a step in the right direction, you think?
He mentioned about soldiers being withdrawn. The police, we have said it here, that internal crime is within the purview of the police. The police can serve that purpose. Let there be roadblocks. not roadblocks where they will be behaving unprofessional, taking monies from motorists. That's not the idea about checkpoints, right? But it serves a purpose where motorists have confidence that, yes, there are presence of police, armed police on the road and all that. So as we are driving past and all that, you know. But the Minister of Defense said that soldiers, he will see that soldiers are withdrawn. And I want to agree with him that there's need for soldiers to be withdrawn, right? Because soldiers too have begin to look at the other way, taking monies from motorists and all that, which is not their, it's against their, against any law enforcement agent. It's against your, it's not within your profession, the code and ethics of your profession to begin to see how to obtain money from motorists. And in terms of operations, the Minister of Defense said a lot. You know, he has institutional memory of the issues that we are talking about, having served in the military and up to the point of this Chief of Defense Staff. Now he's Chief of Minister of Defense. There's a lot that we need to do. Our over-reliance or dependence on the West when it has to do with our defense military equipment. We have local entrepreneurs here that are also producing these things. We have Daikon in Kaduna. The government needs to see how to improve on Daikon facilities and all that so they can produce defense military equipment. When we over-rely on the West and all that, don't forget that our over-reliance on the West is also as a result of corruption because you want to inflict contract figures and all that. In Nigeria, it's on record that the military uses over 250 million bullets annually. And the police also use almost 300 million bullets annually. And a bullet costs $2. So imagine that we rely on the West to go and procure this. You know, whether we use 300 million bullets annually or 250 million bullets annually, I don't know. But that's what is on the record that they use annually. So imagine that it is just 50 million bullets, or let's say 100 million bullets. The $2 per bullet, multiply it by 100 million that we are not seeing. I'm just giving an instance.
I mean, there's the logistics also of bringing all of these things in.
Yes. Right. So let us see that we appreciate our local entrepreneurs, right? There's a company in Lagos. What's the company's name again? Russell Smith. There's Profos in Ibadan. There are a lot of local entrepreneurs here in Nigeria that produce this defense military equipment. But unfortunately, we tend to see these products as being inferior because of the intention of going out of the country to see how to procure this defense military equipment. So we must concentrate in this local production because they have a lot that they do. The bottlenecks that is involved when you are going outside the country to see how to get this military equipment is a whole lot. If it takes you 2, 3 months or 4 months to get this, and in Nigeria here, in 1 week, 2 weeks, you have them. And because of these bottlenecks, it gives these criminal elements the opportunity to keep inflicting these pains on our people and all that. So there's a lot that the Minister of Defense needs to do. Because from 2014 to date, about 12.6 trillion naira is what has gone to the Ministry of Defense. And we need...
You don't think we've seen value for that money?
Are we seeing decline in the insecurity issues in the country? What we're seeing is escalation in some. Kidnapping for ransom is on the rise. Banditry activities. The only thing that I've seen a decline a bit is in the terrorism. You know, at least we're seeing that there's a decline in suicide. The way suicide bombings used to happen when President Goodluck Jonathan was in power. There were some roads within the FCT here that weren't driving through. Right, but since Buhari came and left and all that, we were able to drive through all these roads. You know, suicide bombings, UN House, police headquarters, a whole lot was happening around here. But at least we can see a decline in that. And I think because of the firepower the military is giving them, both ground operations and air, it has made them, some of them, to see how to leave being terrorists to become bandits. Because for me, terrorists and bandits, they are all criminal elements. Right, they kidnap, collect monies from Nigerians. In the last 1 year, 2.56 billion naira was paid as ransom by Nigerians. They use this money to expand their network, sustain themselves. If we are seeing there's a lot that we need to do. So we need to go back to the drawing board. We have our history. Insecurity issues that we're experiencing now started in this Fourth Republic. Terrorism started in 2009, right? Adoption of school children started in 2014, right? Banditry activities. Bandits were named by former President Muhammadu Buhari. He named them bandits. Kidnapping for ransom also started in this Fourth Republic. So, what's the problem?
And if you have to talk about some of the concerns that have been raised around developments like this fizzling out,
Yeah.
long term, that we've seen the energy at the beginning, a couple of weeks, couple of months. We've seen the police set up monitoring teams. We've seen some police officers actually be losing their ranks because of non-compliance to the directive and things like that. But there are some who express concern that once attention shifts from this directive after a couple of months, we'll be back to the same situation again in a couple of months' time. Do you share those concerns?
Yeah. You see, there's a lot that our law enforcement agents need to do. I want to advise that they should reduce the way and manner they go to the media, right? Because their frequent presence on the media, this is what we are doing, this is what we want to do, this is what we have achieved. Yes, they can come out and tell us their success stories. 10,000 terrorists were neutralized in the last 1 month. Welcome development. But when you are carrying out some special forces training, it's in the news. The minute there's going to be a joint patrol in Katsina, in the news. All that. We don't need that. These criminals, when they want to go and strike, when they sit and are undergoing their own training, we are not privileged to that. So we are quick to approach the media when you want to carry out certain training, certain operations and all that. The current chief of defense staff, when he was chief of army staff, when he relocated to Benue before the Yelwata killings, it was all over the news. And you think the bandits will wait for you? You come and they are aware that you are coming. Their sponsors are out there. We don't know who they are, some of them. Meanwhile, we know some of them. These criminals, they watch and listen to news. I did my PhD thesis on kidnapping for ransom. A victim told me that in the forest where they kept him, somewhere after Buhari, going towards Jere, they had radio, these criminals. They were listening to radio in the forest. So we should reduce the way and manner the military, the police, go to the media, right? I'm not saying that they should not be media friendly, but telling us a whole lot about their operations, undergoing XYZ trainings and all that. I don't think it's a thing to do, right? We should be strategic about our operations and all that, because these criminals, we don't know when they come out to come and do all this. And most times, that's why we are reactive, right? When you look at the crime triangle, you look at the desire. The criminal has the intention to commit a crime, and he has access to arms and ammunition. Under the other side of the angle is opportunity. The other side is the reward. What government and security agencies need to do is that these criminals don't have the opportunity to strike. Because if they strike, either by committing acts of suicide, and they will hear that 10, 15 persons were killed, they have achieved their reward. When they kidnap, collect ransom, they have achieved their reward. So what government needs to do is that opportunity is not there.
Okay. And in the final analysis, as we wrap things up, we've seen a lot of international interest in Nigeria's internal security challenges.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with the back and forth between the Nigerian government and Washington, D.C. regarding Christian genocide, the claim that there is a Christian genocide. We saw the delegation come in last week, did the rounds, went to Benue State, did their own findings, they're reporting back. We also understand that there is a collaborative effort with the United States government, with their security agencies, to try to mitigate some of the gaps that currently exist right now, intelligence sharing and so on and so forth. China has also made the same commitment. Yeah. France has also made the same commitment. Do you think that this political interest that has spotlighted Nigeria's security challenge could be the turning point that we need, in collaboration with the international community, to turn the tide when it comes to insecurity?
Yes. You see, I've talked about looking at how we can get foreign help There's nothing wrong with it. I said it in one of my appearances when General Mungunu was National Security Advisor, and I heard him talk about national pride. You cannot be talking about pride and you are going down, right? Where we need help, for instance, terrorism is a global phenomenon. You cannot fight terrorism alone. You need some of this international assistance from the West. If you look at it, when Boko Haram started in 2009, the only physical threat that we had then was Boko Haram. Boko Haram has given birth to ISWAP, Mahmouda, Ansaru, and Wulu Wulu, right? And don't forget that there's another one that emerged, the Lakurawa, right? So in confronting this set of criminals, terrorists, we need help. There's nothing wrong. China is way above us in terms of any means, technology, otherwise. America is ahead. France is also ahead. So when we ask for help, there are different ways they can come in to see how to help, either in training, because we need professional training, specialized training, because we are talking about asymmetric warfare here, where the opportunity or the tendency of knowing your enemy is difficult. So when you undergo some specialized training, you can be able to identify who your enemy is. We're not talking about conventional warfare here, right? So we need other assistance. Trump said he was coming to take on the jihadist elements killing Christians. But the fact is, it is not only Christians that are being killed in Nigeria. Muslims, even people that don't even belong to any religion, are being killed as well. So if he says he's coming to help in taking on the jihadist elements, I think it's a welcome development. The government should look at it. He's not coming to attack Nigeria. It should be a welcome. The government should look at it, because we are talking about Nigeria is one of the most discussed countries in the world now, as we are talking. Why? All centered on insecurity.
Right.
So I think it's something to look at.
Dr. Stephen, as always, interesting conversation. Thank you so much for the analysis, and I appreciate you very much for stopping by on the program this evening.
Thank you
very much for coming in. Right. And that is a wrap on tonight's edition of the program. Thank you most kindly for joining us on Daily Politics. We'll be back next week, Monday, live at 8 p.m., exclusive as always on Trust TV. Until next time, I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. From myself and the rest of the team, thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.